Like, sharecropper, I do think that there has been a lot of expensive things going on right now, and a lot of inexpensive harms going down, and a lot of romanticism. But Affiance couldn't be found, so they had to manage. Now, I think that there is a clairvoyant discrepancy amongst the crowd where we categorize ourselves into a mainstream affiance to be one with one another and sacrilege, which I find quite odd because the Legion includes all organisms on Earth, and we are sanctioned to believe that we are the only ones there. So, I mean, without further interruptions, it's just like we have to kind of incorporate ourselves into a finite of agilities to be able to actually synchronously invade ourselves into the peace in which we think we deserve. Retrospectively, there is a fact of opinion that happens ergonomically, and I guess to not sound so much of a unit, I could say that, to fully express the capabilities of what we are capable of, we have to be a little bit more insane about things, but without guardianship and parental advisory, because the custody comes in to say that we have to be one thing and not another, and the other things that we are is not acceptable, and what we find to be acceptable does not make us guilty to charge. So rather than total it up, we succumb to it and it becomes a numerator of our division. So we make it seem like segregation is a thing, but it's not so much that our lives don't matter. It's just that we don't matter enough in our own lives to put detail into the world in which we seek. So rather than be the change we want to see, we kind of pretend to be the change we want to see. And as an introvert, I like to think that I'm accepted in all communities, but the truth of the matter is I just don't. Um, they say lives matter so much to the extent that it has to be scrutiny amongst the crowd. So my life doesn't matter if I'm not taking on a persona in which people think that I am expressing. So whether or not it be my birthright to say that I'm a human being, or I'm from honor, or I am the best I can be, it's more so, oh, you're black, just be black. Not only do I feel like being black is degrading, I think that calling someone outside of their personal traits or their characteristics is just a diminishing feat of what a human being is, of what a person is, or what, whatever region or regalia that you think you exist in. To let someone pixie cut you into a pixel thought and opinion to make it seem like you're subjected to what the picture is merely just giving you proof of your existence and not giving you actual effort to say that they would like to notice you, they would like to get to notice you, or they would like to even be involved with the things that you find sacred. So the next time somebody tries to tell me that Black Lives Matter, I'm going to ask them to enlighten me. Why do you think Black Lives Matter? And not only is that my expression of my peace for which the uniform that I stand in to subside in, because I think that if I don't, allocate the fact that I think that I am duly noted as a black man rather than just being who I am, and that is semantics. But I extrovert because I think that when someone calls me a black man, it just makes me seem like I'm lesser than anything that I've ever been. There's nothing behind me, there's nothing in front of me, and there's nothing happening around me. I'm just a black man. Um, Now, the thing about my pride is that I come from a long lineage. I have a heritage. I have a history. I come from a place and I know that I'm going towards something. So, why would I ever go somewhere to be innocuous? Like the bare minimum, unrare, a loss of, and not in a company too. Other than to just be a black man, I could be like a nobleman or something of that stature, to where I'm just degraded down to something of just lynch. Like, come on now, you pulling at my necktie, like, um, Grunt because like it's interesting that anyone think could have that kind of precocious nature to call someone outside of their dream to say that you really want to think like that, you want to be like that, you want to really like get into me like that. First of all, black is a color. So if you're calling me a color, that means you're giving me the bare minimum of your existence to breathe into the exile that I think that I exist in a place in which you realm. Not only is that a walking, that means you walking, and there as though you put no effort into who I'm actually tedious for. So I'm not gonna put any of my efforts into trying to make it seem like I want to get to know who you are because that just makes me seem like you just barely want to evanescence. And it becomes like a deficit because not only are you procuring something to impair me, rather than call me wholeheartedly, you only call me to bring me near and not actually to know me and feel me and give me warmth and the company that I keep rather than just to be there, to be near and stare at you while you do whatever you do like I'm some type of geek. I think to be real about it, like I'm awakening to so many kind of permanent decisions, and I find that far fetched that we have a pertinence to think that things are supposed to be so self sufficient already, where we are already coming down to a point where we have laws and theories, and it's not only that it's becoming known, is that it still is unknown. Like there's a huge famine going on right now, and I think that is really something to relinquish because if we're not fertile enough to say that we're nourishing one another with food for thought and the tranquility that we think that we deserve in our own solace, then how is it that we're sharing rays and beams of light but not enlightening one another to feel like we are warm, to feel like the sun is shining on us, to feel like that we have shine? And that's just encapsulates the fact that you think that I am in captivity in my body to call me black. But that's just not a fact. That's just your way of thinking to make it seem like that our way of thinking is not the same thought. So you want to make it seem like that way of thinking is one way of thinking, but that's a blame. That's not really placing any type of meaning. You're just calling me out my name. Now, the custody of what it is to be who I am and where I am to be where I am is very personal to me. When my mother calls me by my name, she calls me by my name and she calls me by how she sees me, what she gave me and what she gave birth to. And when I'm out in the community, globetrotting or whatever like that, I don't want to be pedestrian into thinking that what I'm doing is incompletely wrong because someone feels like, oh, well, toggle this point. Otherwise, you're in trouble. I don't think that my disorder as a pedestrian has anything to do with what you're doing as a bystander. If you're witnessing something or paying attention to something, or you actually have, happen to take a fallacy to notice something that was outside of you and you wanted to partake in it, the mature adult thing to do explicitly would be to approach that or reproach that or make it seem like you aren't insane. But instead, like, I'm seeing like we're getting boycotts and progress and procrastinations and protests and all types of segregations and known relations and bad calls and penalties and all types of offenses, and there's no defense, and it's just like a lack of instinct, and there's no pure instinct, so we just kind of come back to a grunt. And I'm already out of breath. Like, I've been running around thinking about how it's going down. Like, it's really going down, and the only thing that I think that's been fertile right now is the crescent. Like, there's no real arbitrary happening out here on the day because there's no arbor and condition because everyone thinks that where sexuality is just an affiance for a rendition of who we are as a people. Now, as an American, I do often feel like I can offer something, but there's no server. Like, there's no actual contingencies or plans that are happening on blatant reconstruction, because in the midst of us trying to calm ourselves in chaos, we find that we are actually creating our own peace without another person. So then we find like we want to seek something out and be the change we want to see, but that doesn't really mean anything. It's just bleep. The best way to take action is to be action, and the only way that we find ourselves to be inactive is when we take action. So it's kind of hard to go anywhere if you're just sitting on your behind. I think that I don't think enough, and I believe that I could probably put more effort into some things, but I can't do it if I'm doing it alone. And I don't know how I can champion anything out of nothing if there is no type of repar. I don't want to say. I want to say like there's no type of rapport. And I'm trying to be as illogical as possible because like I think logically this is definitely ridiculous. Like I'm sitting here watching screens and watching things, and it's just like a game to people how the arena fits into the social stigmas of who we are on a union, and it's ridiculous. But like on my part, and I like to think that, we're getting somewhere. Things are happening, like gay lives, trans lives, black lives, white lives, all lives, blue lives, starting to matter, or at least the conversation has begun to matter. And that is effort in its own, like something to pay homage to, that this is where we started and we still have a long way to go, but not so much to put a measurement on it, but to condition ourselves to believe that we still can take action on things so that we don't have to suffer so much. Now, this morning I woke up and I cried an assortment of tears because as much as I believe in Aviance, I think that romanticism and the implication of that mixed in with poverty and the way it supersedes tranquility to go transcendent and to become something artful, and while incorporating soul, and just watching that in choreography and culture and uniform, it's just so beautiful and gorgeous. And I am a little grotesque because I like to consume that shit. I don't know if you can say shit on YouTube. Can you say shit on TV? Oh, you can't say shit on TV. I'm sorry, bleep that. Um, I guess this is no point in effort to speak because at this point it's just chit chat. And I know you don't like emphasis, but that's where shit comes from. It's just shit chat. But don't tell nobody I told you that, because then they're gonna look at me like I just swore on TV, and it's not real. It's just from my audacity gets the best of me sometimes, and I like to put my foot forward. But I always remember I wind up taking two steps back. It's not that inertia doesn't happen. It's just that when you make an impact on the world, you gotta wait for the world to find a way to acclimate itself to who you are. And you either take arms or you biceps. So, you gotta be strong, endure, and stay gracious, yo. Cause above all else, don't let nobody take you out your character. Um, if you find yourself being taken out your character, you do not always have to take legal action. You could remain humble and govern yourself accordingly, and take into practice the piece of solidarity to, you know, get yourself together and your affairs in order so that you can battle it on your time and your plane when you get it together, so that you're able to take whatever data you analysis and put it forth so that you'll have something to say that not only do I have proof, not only do I have a cause, not only do I have the right, you know, I shouldn't have to. Like, after you go through so much, it's like you just sit back and you realize you don't have to. And that's righteous in itself. But if you really want to take a claim, you can always drop that paperwork down at the precinct and they'll be happy to help you out. I don't want to be too illogical, but on reproach, I would like to say nobody is perfect because no one wants to believe that something is perfect. And if we do not take the time to put our imperfections together, to realize that we are whole, and compute with ourselves that we are enough, to help our conscience believe that we are, and rationalize that into our emotions so that we can spill it out into the world and style who we want to be, who we see ourselves as, and how we want to fashion our lives for the future. You really got to take the print out of it, and you just got to make yourself a little bit more legible so that people understand you when you're drawing. Because, yeah, it's going to be naysayers and guilt trippers and authority. But, like, you can make it happen because it's not a dream. And don't let nobody force you into nothing. Because at that point, you're just dead ass. And nobody likes dead ass. Yo, sharecropper, I'm out.